your church has figured out what you want to do going forward so that the pastor can look at your uh, uh, church information form and see what it is you're doing, not what you have done, but what you're going to do in the future. So we had to stop after Jim Reisner. And for Heather, I just started kicking back. All right. So I'm just starting in about sort of what we did last time around.
Yeah, please.
And I'm going to go over this here in a minute, but I'm just laying a little background. So Presbytery made us stop and figure out who we were. So for a year, roughly a year, we decided to use a program called Percept Revision, which is where you, from grassroots in the congregation up, decide who you're going to be in the future. And so we had more than 80 people, 80 members participating in this process. We had, I believe, 4 groups, and we met over a series of months in people's houses with groups of about like 20 people in each group to, with some guidance from the Percept Revision information to try and come up with a new vision. And so, and it was really, really good. So around summertime, all the results came together. And, we presented them like we do, we presented them with congregation, we presented them with session, and session says, you need to crisp this up and make it so people can really understand. So they appointed a committee of 4 people. Well, actually, they appointed me. And I remember, I don't know if you were on session at the time. Okay, so Rick Miller was on session at the time, and he says, we want to appoint Peter. He can put whoever he wants on that committee. So I chose Ann Older, Alan Tedrow, and Sarah Williams, who at that time, I think were the people that had the strongest faith in the congregation. I did that on purpose, in my opinion. So anyway, so we put the document together and we went through all the approvals of presenting it and then finalized it. So I found the report that our committee put in the annual report in 2001, 25 years ago, which is back when I didn't have white hair, but I was getting close. So I want to read it to you, because this will help us set the groundwork for what Heather wants us to do next. So in September of 2000, the church embarked on a project to create a new vision of who we are and what our mission is. We used resources and a process developed by the Percept group entitled Percept Revision to guide us. More than 80 people met in small groups for a period of 8 weeks, beginning January 2001. These groups met in homes and other locations outside the church to reflect on the spiritual basis for the purpose of the church and to develop new concepts for the mission of the church. The ideas collected during the study were forged into an action plan at an offsite retreat of church officers in May. The session adopted, so this is more than 25 years ago. The session adopted them unanimously in June, and the plan calls for first-year and 3-year implementation plans of the recommendation. The session appointed a revision steering committee to recommend specific actions to implement the findings. Members of the steering committee are Sarah Williams, Alan Tedrow, and Older Peter McKee. The steering committee began meeting in July and met throughout the summer on an almost weekly basis to study the findings and determine the best course of action to implement them. Now, I have to tell you, at this time, I didn't have a job. I was between jobs, and this assignment came along. It's like, well, everything happens for a reason. While I don't have work, I will work on this thing and put it together. So that happened. See where I am here. Okay. During discussions with church members, we found many members felt overloaded due to the long-term commitments of church board work and many regular meetings of the subcommittees of the boards. So we undertook to change the fundamental way in which the church operates in order to resolve the problem of overcommitment. We recommended this to the session, and the session adopted measures to reduce the size of the Board of Trustees and the session from 15 to 12 members. The Board of Stewards, which was our 4th board at the time, was repurposed from being a standing board of the church to become a new committee of the session entitled Stewards of the Spirit. And the Stewards of the Spirit Committee will be responsible for personal evangelism and spiritual growth, as well as welcoming new members into the church. With this, new structure, the church will rely more upon small groups that are empowered to do specific tasks within parameters established on set by set. Bite-sized chunks is what this was. The people would just say, I'll do that task and back out again. There will also be opportunities for members to work as extended members of most existing organizations without having to be elected. Members and friends will now plug into small groups as their schedules allow and in manners they wish without the burden of 3-year board terms. The idea is that people would be able to work creatively with joy in an empowered mode and work with groups for shorter periods of time as their busy schedule allowed. Therefore, more people will be involved with activities of the church, creating a stronger church. The primary areas of the revision recommendations are becoming a vibrant spiritual center offering opportunities for spiritual growth for friends and members, making the church more welcoming and hospitable to those in the community, increasing opportunities for mission, including outreach to current members in need and increased mission to the community and the world, and increasing alternative worship and programming experiences. Our organizational changes become effective on January 1st, 2002. We encourage all members to prayerfully consider how they would like to serve God through our church and to plug in to one or more of the small groups to make a difference to their lives, the lives of those in the community, and to increase spiritual reach of Westminster Church so that we may become a beacon of spirituality for our community. That was the end of our percept revision process, which created the vision statement that you now have in your hands. And the thing that wasn't said in that statement was, the first thing we did was to create what we called a cluster, which was Christian Life and Learning. CL&L was a group, and it still is a group of people not always on boards. Some of them are staff, some of them are not on any boards, some are on boards, all working together towards one thing. And the idea was to extend that to other functions in the church, but it never got extended. There was some pushback on it at the time. So that was our vision. This is our vision statement at the time. And now I'm going to flip it to you.
Yeah, so the big ways that got implemented was in this process of restructuring and moving away from standing boards, having 4 standing boards with 3-year terms with 15 people per board.
60 people.
And I mean, just about every Protestant church I know of went through a similar restructuring process in that period because the congregations were shrinking and they couldn't fill these boards. But it also had to do with just a desire to really see larger proportions of the congregation engaged in the life of the congregation instead of having there be sort of, oh, the board has to do that, have the structure be a little more nimble, I guess. But the other thing that happened out of that, that's the implementation, but the part of it that it's funny that we've carried forward, and it's in our annual, it's been in every single annual report. And Valerie, maybe you'll correct me if I'm wrong with that, but at least everyone that I've been involved with, which is 5 of them now, and it certainly was carried before, in the beginning of the annual report, there's this statement of our beliefs and our vision, and it's this one. Yeah. From next year, it will be 25 years old. Mm-hmm. But it's not the only time the church has done visioning work, although it is the vision that has been preserved in that annual report and brought forward. But many of you will remember some of the other times that there's been visioning work, and a big one happened in 2013 and then got sort of expressed fully, maybe I wasn't there at the time, so I shouldn't say it, but in 2015, when there was a capital campaign that used some of the work. Valerie, would you want to say anything about that? Or Valerie shared this with me, that came out of, maybe that, is anybody familiar? Does this,
Oh, yeah.
remember this thing?
Yeah.
It's sort of this word cloud, which is a nice, these are generated by a computer program that shows how frequently words showed up. And these were in response to the question, what do you appreciate about Westminster?
So I'm sure people will remember, at that point in time, we went through, a process called, there were two different things, but they were totally related. One was Why Westminster, and the other was Dreaming Westminster, and Arthur Fullerton was involved, and we had groups, and we were meeting in small groups, and we had the kind of focus groups on these topics, and so we were generating it was a visioning effort, and part of what I remember especially is that we were getting ready to really kind of try and launch and expand our online presence. And so we knew that we were going to be designing a website, and we were looking for a new, basically how do we want to brand Westminster and what is our messaging? And so we went through this very thoughtful process at the time. I thought we had a lot of good participation. And then we generated, all these words were generated, but we also had a time where I can remember sitting in this room and we were gathering words of inspiration what is kind of our look and feel. That is what ultimately led to the logo that we now use. That fed into the logo because when we were developing the website at the time, we wanted something new and fresh. And what kept coming up was this concept of the terms mosaic. We talked about the representation of the kente cloth, but also the tartans, and the fact that that's where we came up with the woven together, threads coming together and being woven together. And there was scriptural reference too, that Jim Reisner helped, add to all of this. That's how we came up with that logo, ultimately was from the visioning that people spent such a nice amount of time sharing their thoughts. And so that was really central, and it was not a formal thing like what Peter's talking about that we went through with the precept and all that, but it was an internal process where we were really welcoming the input from people in a number of different sessions, and it led to a lot. It led to at the time we had areas that we kind of condensed our vision down to. We talked about areas of passion for mission near and far, passion for a vibrant music and arts ministry. I'm gonna forget all of them, but there were like 6 or 7 areas of focus, and they were sort of the synthesis of all of those words and thoughts that came together. So that might be helpful for people to
The
remember.
ones that I picked up out of 2017's the capital campaign was radical hospitality, broad diversity, passion for a mission near and far, and vibrant music and arts.
Yeah. Yep, and we used that in the capital, and all that did feed into the capital campaign. We used all of that we had that work came forward in that way.
And then just moving the dial forward, you all might remember in 2018, the congregation used this thing that's called the CAT, which is the Congregation Assessment Tool. And that was part of the transition process with ministers, and you did it with Bill Schramm. It was a questionnaire that you take on the computer, and you actually got 105 responses to that survey. Got 105 people to fill that thing out.
Yeah.
And that's a kind of visioning in that it's sort of an identifying key desires for the future of the congregation, especially as where the minister might be putting his or her focus. But it's supposed to be for what the congregation, the priorities that the congregation has identified as. And you'll see that they are: one, make necessary changes to attract families with children and youth to our church. Two, develop and implement a comprehensive strategy to reach new people and incorporate them into the life of the church. Three, develop the spiritual generosity of the people to financially support the ministry of the church. And four, create more opportunities for people to form meaningful relationships, small groups, nurtured friendships, shared meals, etc. So those are all ways in which the church has, just on a number of occasions, kind of touched in, and sometimes more lightly and sometimes quite comprehensively, to the question of what is the vision of this church. And we don't, when I say we, I'm saying the current session hasn't felt like we have the appetite for doing
Another deep dive.
another visioning process.
Yeah.
But we had this funny experience at the beginning of the year, which was, I said, okay, we keep running this statement. It's, at that point, I was like, it is for 24 years we've been reprinting this statement. Like, are we still carrying this thing forward? And we read it, and we had a very strong experience of saying there was something almost prescient about this work. And when you read through it, you'll see it's congruent with what Valerie was doing and talking about with the branding and the website process and the transition to ministry process and all of that. There's themes that keep coming back again and again that seem constant with in the
Yes, Stan.
in the vision process.
Here's the key. You got them up. Okay.
But we felt like yeah, and I'm gonna only quote Peter. When we got together,
You want me to say it again?
yeah, say it again.
So I read this, and I haven't really paid a lot of attention to it in 25 years, and I looked at it and says, oh my, do we need to throw this away and start over.
Said, I think we should trash it, was what my memory is, but we did something else that was a little bit cheating or interesting or whatever. But we took this and this, what do you?
GPT.
Yeah, we
Yes.
put it through, it's actually Google Gemini, and
Okay.
which is an AI process, and said, what could be a current vision of Westminster Presbyterian. So this is not, then we had a little subgroup meet and discuss it. And so this is a current vision that's generated by AI with edits made by a small group from the session who looked at it. But it's essentially what AI did was condense, see this big long thing
Yeah.
with ads from these things
Yeah.
into it. So I'm not telling you like a in-depth visioning process has created this statement. It looks finished like this, but please just remember, this is generated by a computer. But it was generated by a computer based on those 25 years of different kinds of work. So I wanted to just bring this to you in kind of a spirit of play, if I could, and say, if you were to look at this, does it sound anything like what a vision for our community could be? And I have some highlighters here, and I thought what we could do is we're gonna read it, and you can certainly cross out things that you think are stupid, but I thought it might be interesting.
What's the one?
Oh, yeah, I just didn't know if you had enough.
Yeah, we
Yes,
have a bunch.
yes. I'll get you a set.
Okay.
And I didn't know what other people, so.
That's it. We need some pen.
Okay, so I thought we could just pass this around like we sometimes do in Bible study and read a paragraph and then the next person reads the next little section, if we may. And Paul, you listen acutely so that you can be highlighting in your brain, okay? Are you guys ready to go? You see what I'm on? Draft, our vision for Westminster Presbyterian Church. Okay, who would like to start?
And what are we highlighting? The thing.
Anything that sounds good, that like, I like that word, I like that phrase.
Oh, and then we're gonna go around and share that.
Oh, well, or yeah, or you can hand them all to
We
me,
want to collect them.
Oh, I say.
but yes, we'll discuss. But I also want to collect. So, and if you want to cross something out, you can use the highlighter, do that too, but mostly I'm just looking for what parts seem like they fit. Okay, somebody said they'll start. Okay,
This Westminster Presbyterian Church, we are joyfully committed to deepening our relationship with God and our beloved community. We recognize the immense potential within us to more fully embody God's purpose, strengthening connections both within our congregation and in our outreach to the wider world.
okay, we'll just slow a little bit here so we can look at that, yeah?
Thank you, going.
Yeah,
Embracing our diverse community, we celebrate the rich tapestry of backgrounds and faith traditions within our church and the vibrant, diverse communities that surround us. To truly live our faith, we are called to build on stronger connections, to foster deeper, more meaningful relationships between all members and with everyone in our neighborhood. I don't think we'll see or do you want me to finish this one?
oh, you can keep going, yeah.
Okay. Align with God's purpose, reconnect with and embrace God's exciting vision for our church and its ministry, and to grow together honestly, acknowledge our strengths and opportunities for growth, viewing the journey between who we are and who God calls us to be as a way of impact or discovery.
Judy, you wanna?
Sure, I thought maybe you wanted to digest.
You just want us to highlight as we go?
Yeah,
Heather? Okay.
Engaging with our city. Our spiritual journey inspires us to become even more deeply involved with the multifaceted community right here in Albany. We will foster unity, actively work to overcome anything that hides hinders relationships and true community flourishing. Cultivate openness. Joyfully challenge our own perspectives and prejudices, fostering a spirit of understanding. Live our faith authentically. Dedicate ourselves to understanding the unique circumstances of each person, empowering us to genuinely live out our Christian faith in the spirit of vibrant community.
Fostering welcome and growth. We envision Westminster as a warm, inviting place where everyone who walks through our doors feels truly welcome and eager to return. We aspire for our church to be a place where individuals discover God's good news, clearly hear and embrace God's life-giving message, feel God's loving presence, experience God's compassionate presence in tangible, transformative ways, find spiritual flourishing, are spiritually and revitalized and inspired in ways they never imagined, discovering new depths of faith.
Michael?
Yep. To achieve this vibrant vision, we commit to dynamic worship, continuously develop and deliver diverse, engaging worship experiences that uplift and resonate with all ages. Meaningful connections, create abundant opportunities for all generations to learn, grow, and connect through active involvement with one another. Unleashing gifts, joyfully stretch our boundaries, open our hearts wide, and make ample room for God's grace, ensuring that the unique gifts of every person are celebrated, nurtured, and empowered to bear wonderful fruit.
I have a question at the top of the second page, is, because I'm so OCD, it's stuck out. All of the other statements after the bold headline have like a subject or a gerund or something, and find spiritual force, it's like starts with R. Like people are, or something, a sentence fragment.
Right.
It annoys.
Sorry,
me.
which one is it?
Top of the second page. Find spiritual flourishing, not a phrase.
It needs a subject there.
Yeah.
Or a gerund is a subject,
Yeah,
because that's what the other sentences.
Yeah.
yes, good point, yeah. Yeah, so, taking this all with the actual composition of it with as much seriousness as AI requires, which is not a lot, but, what resonated as who we are right now, and was there any of this that jumped out in particular? I'd just love to hear just any kind of feedback or thoughts or.
You won't like it.
What'd you say?
You won't like it. The thing that annoys me about all of these is, in every case, the relationship does not fit. If you look at the bold headlines and then some of the definition, they don't always fit together well.
It's like you do see both the gift and the limits
Yeah.
of a computer writing something, right? So recognize that, but so I found it more helpful is to think of it basically kind of think of it the way the computer did this, right?
Hmm.
This was they put in all of the response as why Westminster. And it came up with this. This is a word cloud based on how much these words repeated themselves in those responses. So think of it like that. It's almost like a editing tool, like things that came out of looking at all these things together and kind of highlighting stuff. Were there things that it highlighted that still seem to be true for us, like right now? And are there things that are missing? Is that, I don't know if that's a helpful framing of the conversation.
Well, I see a lot of things that I do think are part of our community. And this is a little struggle between visioning and then getting, you going from your high level visioning to more of your the tactics and all of that. It's where do you get a little bit more where do you get more specific? Like these words are really, they're inspirational, but I also feel like there is that part of where you get a little bit more specific to understand what's this church really about, like welcoming of, when we talk about being a more light church or very specific that as about welcoming all, what do we mean by that? And maybe this could lead to a little bit more specificity that you could kind of.
This is the first time that I've heard that Westminster was a rooms that full light.
we're more, well, we have been more like church. I mean, it's one of our,
It
yeah.
it hasn't been out there
No.
in our vision, in our presence, because I didn't know it.
Yeah,
I thought maybe we should do that someday, something like.
yeah,
that.
we are
Been
more
there.
like church. And I haven't been involved in that for some time, but I do know that we have
Yeah.
affiliations and,
Yeah, like many churches will celebrate that fact once a year,
Mm,
you know, to highlight this is
Mhm.
part of who we are.
Yeah.
But I haven't, here I've been decade.
yeah, not aware
That's
of
the
it.
first I've heard about it.
Yeah.
I'd like to get rid of some of the adjectives. We recognize the immense potential in them.
That's- That's AI.
Yeah, God's exciting vision for our church. And a spirit of vibrant community. And then over here, we have, let's see, joyfully stretch our boundaries. Ensure we can, okay, want to bear wonderful fruit. I mean, that just sounds like, maybe they're right, but
It's
I don't know.
fluffy.
Something about it.
Thank you, Margaret, because I was figuring it out, I didn't know you put Debbie down in the room, but like, they use joyfully, three.
Yeah,
You know,
vibrant.
It
The word
it
vibrant,
detracts from it,
Yeah.
I got some across up that,
And-
to me.
And I think you start to recognize, I mean, AI has wonderful places.
Yeah.
So I'm not, but you can start to recognize where it's used.
Yeah.
And you all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's.
All right, people. We'll do another second hour on the church and AI, which
Yeah, yeah.
actually I just saw there was like a conference on
I'm
that,
sure
which
there
is interesting. I'm trying to,
Need to be.
the reason I did say, let's try to use this playfully and,
Yes.
I think part of the reason to do things like this are to say we've had a vision statement that has been reprinted in our annual report for 24 years,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And so this is a good opportunity on the 25th anniversary of our vision to say, I mean, what are we really about as a church? And if this isn't helpful, let's throw it out. But I noticed myself when we had the 5-year plan conversation a couple weeks ago, we were talking and talking, and then towards the end of that conversation, I found myself standing up and saying, look, Westminster has made a decision that some of our other sister congregations have made a different decision about. And that is that we have decided to stay in this building. And it's not just a vision, it's a tactic, right? We made
Yeah.
some implementation decisions based on that. I mean, among other things, the capital campaign, but then also some decisions about how we're going to handle our endowment, to not use it to pay salaries, to, maintain it, etc. And so there's ways in which this church has made some decisions that are based on a vision, and that vision hasn't, like you're saying, we don't see more light, church like broadcast, but like we haven't like completely articulated that. Like, wait, we're a church that is decided that we are like a big part of who Westminster is we are in downtown Albany on State Street and all that comes with it. And our friends across the street at Emmanuel Baptist they had 2 different consultants, did a big visioning process. And by the end of all of that years of work, they decided, you know what we are? We're a congregation that doesn't need a building to be what we are. And we're going to sell our building and we're going to go move and do something else. And we could be anywhere in the city and still be us. Because that's like our vision for ourselves does not include our building. And we made the other decision, at least as far as I can tell, at least for now, right?
So I just wanted to add, another reason we want to take another look at this vision statement is we've accomplished a lot
Yeah.
of what we set down 25 years ago. People looked at our church then as a fortress. That, you know, we're unapproachable. We had no people of color in our church back then. We, you know, we hadn't started our mission trips to Ghana, and, you know, the big focus wasn't as big as it is now. And so if you look at some of what we
Yes.
lined up to do, we've done, we need to set new goals, we need to set a new vision to bring us up to where we are and what we've already accomplished. Keep what we've accomplished, but what are we gonna do from here on out?
But I also,
And the other thing is, in terms of fortress, we've got, you know, Westminster Commons, which resides here, which opens us up and brings the community in too. And so the whole premise for where we were 25 years ago is gone. We need to do something different. We need to trash this and move on, do something different.
I think a lot of foundational.
Let me get Paul and then Judy and then Chris and Valerie. Yeah, go ahead.
just to say that I like how this had a very positive, joyful.
Joyful.
Where we are. I know too many joyful, but still, it's still a very positive. Attack at what it is to be in Westminster.
Yeah, Judy.
This is a doily. This is, this is a prom dress. It's a doily, a prom dress. It's a prom dress. We're dressed up fancy in all of our jewelry and our fancy words. It's wonderful. But It's a cloud in the sky. What you're with somebody's looking for the toolbox. I know what the toolbox is.
Ah,
It's here. It's in our hands, it's in our feet, and that, the two of them together, then we get from Sunday to Saturday. You
Oh.
get dressed up for Sunday church and you have all these happy glorifying. But what do we do between this Sunday and next Sunday? So that's what you're lacking here, I think. I think this is fine, but it's up in the sky and it's kind of hard to read, and it comes out maybe periodically once a month on Blue Room, what is it, dancing?
yeah.
And then on Monday and Tuesday, what do we do? And Friday, what do you look back and have you accomplished? So that's what I think you're looking for. We're looking for the gathering of the bodies, the people, the reaching out, the feeding, we do that. What other things are we looking for?
I love it. The prom dress and the toolbox. Chris, go ahead.
Just to add though to what you said about the choice to use the endowment, you gave such a beautiful discussion of the commitment to the neighborhood, and that Center Square can't afford another vacant church. And the fact that we have one on Large Street, potentially, you know, there'll be a change across the street. We're committed, and I think that that's something we need to be articulating, that we, you know, we've chosen to invest in, and it's a significant investment.
It's huge.
Right, but, you know, for those of us that did historic preservation, it warms our heart, and yet I wasn't looking at it from the perspective of the neighborhood, and, you know, what we're offering to the neighborhood.
Yeah, in the city. Yeah, Valerie.
And I think kind of what we're hearing here is, and like, the idea of having the vision work and the language that gives you sort of that, that high level loftier, the vision, and without going into, because it's a separate thing to go into your action plan or your your strategies, but somehow do a hook in when you're giving the vision with something that people can understand as something that's real. Like what, you know, how do we, you know, examples of how these things
Where do
take
I-
place through Westminster.
What's my job? Where do I fit in? Where does this accommodate me and my needs or my friends' needs?
Yeah, without having all the specificity that you know has to come in a different level of planning.
That's a cool idea. So so that there's sort of words and phrases that are the vision. Not saying we would use
Yeah.
it, but for example, engaging with our city.
Right.
And it says then, for example, blah, blah, blah. And that's not the full strategy,
Right,
yeah.
but it shows that this isn't
Gives
just an
something where you-
idea,
Like, oh, that's interesting.
you know?
Yeah.
Because sometimes, you get this higher level thing and it's really hard to understand, what does that really mean?
Right,
You know?
right.
So,
And then it feels like, oh gosh, as you said, put it on the shelf because, it's something like, bringing Christ to the people of Albany or something. Which believe me, I think we should bring Christ to the
Yes.
people of Albany. But I just say, if you put that on a sign, I don't know, whatever, what does that even mean?
yeah.
So, yeah.
I do think that especially in this current environment, with corporations and companies, and well, that's the same thing, but with many people backing away from the word diverse, even still using this word sends a message.
Oh, that's
Mhm.
interesting.
And in welcoming sends a message generally. I mean, when I am visiting a town and want to go to church, I'm gonna real quick look at the website, look at the few paragraphs and be like, are these people racist or homophobic and can I go there?
Yeah.
And I read this and I say, okay, I'll visit here this Sunday. So I do think these, they may be seen as buzzwords, but in the current political climate, they may be what catches someone's eye
True.
to walk through the door.
Mhm.
Yes, and, yeah.
And the absence says
Mhm.
something.
Very much
Yeah.
so,
Right,
Yes,
right.
very much so.
I've been sitting here trying to, imagine what, a view from the balcony looks like. Kind of an overall view. Part of the issue here is not hearing everything. And of course, I'm not seeing anything much at all. But, it strikes me that from a person, without any previous experience of the church, looking at it from above, as it were, one of the most striking things about Westminster is its diversity of shades of color, for one thing. I think that's kind of an immediate thing. Within that perspective, we have a fairly large African membership, and the African American membership is strong too. But they're different communities.
Right.
But it's good to celebrate that diversity, even though I think, I'm afraid, I don't know how much interaction there is between African people and other folks within the congregation, with an American background. I wish for more of that. There are other pockets of expression that go on in the church that we don't see much. We have a small group that does a weekly vigil. How many people know about that? We have a small group that's an environmental group. They're dedicated. We have a visible choir group. So we do have different little balls of people who are doing things, but how much interaction there is with everybody else, I'm not sure. So I think it's good to celebrate those different pockets of people, but I wish there were more crossovers. And
Yeah.
LGBTQ, we don't really make LGBTQ people a visible cause. But we are passively a more like congregation, but we don't make a thing of it. So that's a kind of hidden under the radar thing. So that's what I see from the balcony.
Yeah.
Over things.
Yeah, and that actually is a good argument for some kind of vision statement, renewed vision statement, where when you see sort of diverse pockets of work, how does that all connect? To try to have some effort to describe that, a kind of shared purpose can help a feeling of cohesion in the congregation. A little bit. It's time for us to wrap up, but before we do, I want to put Jeremiah on the spot, if I may. Because I know you and I have a feeling you're not shy. Last I checked.
Well, I mean, I'm just listening and taking in what everyone's saying.
But when we had this little group from the session say, let's look at this vision, actually, one of the people in the group said, one of the things we should do is talk to people who are new in the congregation, because have that sense, instead of saying, oh, I know what this place has been for the last 40 years, or 20 years or whatever. When you walk in, what do you see? When you first experience a church, what do you see? And what kind of words would you use to describe that?
Well, just to kind of like tie together what everyone kind of been saying, one of the words that jumped out to me was the word fortress. Right, this church, I think, is still a fortress.
Okay.
And I think that choosing to keep this church and to keep the community inside of it is a declaration of faith that I think is part of God's vision for us too. Honestly, that's what.
So fortress in a kind of the
Yes.
positive sense of it, like the what you're saying today.
Yeah.
Well, you're not saying fortress in a negative sense.
Yeah.
No, I'm
No.
saying it in a positive. It's like
It's
a fortress,
relates to
not a fortress for
interesting.
Center Square, a fortress for Albany, not just for us, but for everyone who needs a space to be
Ah.
calm and
Okay.
pray.
That gives me chills.
Little chills.
I
too.
never thought about that in a positive way, but that gives me chills.
Yes.
Well, I think that's just coming from the word fortress, right?
Yeah.
Somebody said it,
Yeah.
it just kept mulling in my head, and I'm like, okay. And the declaration of faith that you brought up, right, like a couple of Sundays ago, we're going to stay here
Mm.
and we are going to be a beacon of light for this community.
Yeah.
The fortress has
It's changed.
light shining from the turrets, the
Yeah.
bugs.
Yeah.
Mm.
It has no moat.
Safety.
You can walk right in the door. The doors, the gates are unlocked. There's no soldiers standing on the guards.
It's a safe place.
Yeah,
Strong
it's
place.
safe.
Stronghold.
But it has that sense of strong,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like not sort of in everything that's changing and kind of in the sense of things unraveling, or like a kind of, that this is sort of this strong, safe place.
Is singing out the front, remember? The
Mm.
choir is singing out the front door.
Jehoshaphat, yeah.
Yeah, I did too. I will remember that.
Well, we don't need any marketing people, he just solved our new marketing campaign.
I thought this morning's long list of concerns and celebrations and, represent an amazing diversity and an amazing occasion of listening and people pouring out, feeling comfortable,
Yeah.
expressing their individual needs. That was quite a long list this morning.
Yeah.
I
But
like that too.
and it gets tedious sometimes, but it's also a way for the whole congregation to find out what's going on with people. And
Yeah.
so, I think it's good and bad. I think
To me, I felt a strong sense of us
Yeah.
Yeah.
in that, not this random
Right.
mix, because that's part of the problem with diversity, right? Is you don't walk in and essentially all of us immediately feel like us versus, you know what I mean? If you've been in congregations where, I don't know, everybody's a Scottish Presbyterian and there's a kind of usness to it. And I think we have to work to create the us when you have you come from different parts of the city and different parts of the world, Chris. Yeah.
That's what I was just gonna bring up. It's one of the things I don't think we ever embrace or advertise or really consider, is the fact that we are people choosing to come here from distances. And which adds such a uniqueness to this community here. And it allows me out of my very vanilla life, many parts of our lives are very vanilla. And, this is where I can come to really, embrace a community that isn't concerned about, the size of their TV or, the car they're driving or how green your lawn is. It's like, we're just a much more, organic group.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's interesting. The word I was gonna use today would be organic, that it doesn't happen all the time,
Yeah.
but like today, it happens when it kind of needs to happen in some ways, that the uplifting of, prayers and concerns and all the discussion that went on, that just generated up. It was a response to something that was very real for people that they felt compelled to speak out.
I mean, Irvin's comments this morning.
Yeah,
I mean, I had to go up and talk to Andre. It hit you in the heart.
Yeah.
That's, we're just a very unique group.
Yeah, but that's a situation where the room made Irvin's comments possible, and
Yes.
then Irvin's comments took the room to a deeper
You're right.
place, right? And you can see what spiritual community actually does when it functions. And no, we don't get there every Sunday. We don't. There's, for whatever reason, what's going on in anybody's head or space or whatever, but we can do it together. And then you're like, oh, okay, there's like, this is really important, like, oh, okay, this was worth getting out of bed. Yeah.
I was gonna say, when I first came here in 2007, I didn't come back for a while because I felt we were a very Scottish Presbyterian, and I did not feel welcome. That was very much the talk, and like, it was bad timing because I showed up for the first time at the Kirkin, and I was like, well, not for me. And then I came to embrace it. But to Paul's point about, like, it's funny because when I did my leaf this morning, I put the thing I was thankful for was the racial vigil. I've never attended the vigil. I show Caleb pictures of it all the time. Whenever anyone asks me about my church, I show it to them because to me it's the most affirming thing for my son that a bunch of people who don't look like him stand out once a week with a sign saying he matters.
Right.
It's for me the most powerful part of coming to this church. And I like that we don't all think the same. I like that we have little pockets. Like I like when we do prayer requests, and I know I'm going to learn about an environmental issue I didn't know about because Paul's going to raise his hand and tell me about something I hadn't read about. And that someone's more reading the newspaper than me, going to know the update on Gaza. And you shared about ICE and the law about ICE. Like, I love that we learn from each other. And it feels so vulnerable and awesome when we're all talking during the service now, during the sermon and the prayer request. Like, that was not what this place was like 10 years ago at all.
No.
And I think it's awesome. We don't think the same. It's okay.
The word that just popped into my mind from all this discussion is hub. And when we're talking about people coming from different geographic locations, coming from different backgrounds, thinking of this place as a fortress, but using it in the positive realm, that it's a strong place, that it's a safe place, that you can come in for shelter, whatever, and that contributes to just being a hub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we noticed was really there strongly in the vision from 24 years ago is like, let's open up to the neighborhood and make more connections. And that kind of gave us a little bit of chills when we read it and started to notice, wow, in 24 years ago, a group of people had a vision of what could happen here, and it happened.
Yeah.
Just gotta say, when you said about Fortress being about, when we did it, Fortress was negative.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. it
Barriers.
was, We're
It was a
keeping
barrier.
people out, we're a fortress, we have the moat and we have the gate up. And to hear that go 180 degrees, like,
It's exciting.
hearts,
It's exciting.
like we did it.
It's really exciting.
Well, to another thing, you were talking about wanting to plug people in and various.
Right,
And that's what we do.
yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
that's what we're doing here. No.
It's a safe place.
yeah.
A strong place.
Yeah.
A strong, safe place.
I would just say,
Like the word catalyst, like things are really cooking.
yeah.
There's a lot of sparking energy in.
That's kind of the hub sense of
Yes.
bringing stuff together and see what happens, right?
I mean, it's funny, I talked to Caleb I was telling Eugene this, we were washing the dishes in there, and I was telling Eugene, Kayla was always surprised, and I'm like, oh, there used to be like 100 people, it used to be full every Sunday. He's like, oh, that sounds weird. It sounds fun. I'm like, the
That's
kids,
fun.
the kids are used to this. They're used to knowing everybody.
That's
They're used to
interesting.
know this, their family. And he's like, oh, so many people. That there were cell phones off or something. He just thought it was the strangest thing, you know, we're feeling badly about it.
Yeah.
Goes in church.
Yeah.
All right, well, this has been a fun conversation for me. If you go home and it's still a little bit and, you know, another word or phrase or image comes to mind, just shoot me an email. And we don't have a plan or a process with this, but we do have a feeling of wanting to just kind of keep it alive and
Mhm.
kick it around a little bit and have that feeling of like when the time comes, there might be another not a revisioning,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
another articulation of where we're at.
Refresh.
A
and
refreshing.
Make relevancy, you know.
You know, just to kind of um keep that alive, that sense of we can say what we're about, so that if somebody were to come in, we wouldn't have just a, you know, I don't know. I don't know. Up here. I mean, it's nice, yeah, but a little bit more to say than that. Strong, safe catalyst hub of goodness and possibility. Oh gosh, good things to be had here. Please, if you scribbled on or highlighted, please pass it over to me, and I'd love to take that one home with me. The rest of the pages we'll leave here.